guys, welcome to Connectedness. I'm Fernanda, your host and founder of Filled Cups. And this is the space where we explore what it means to grow, to connect, and to trust ourselves, and to show up authentically with each other. Today, I want to talk about a book that has been resonating with me. It was a recommendation from one of my former podcast guests, friendship coach Zane, episodes 20 and 21, I think, or 22 and 21 and 22. Anyway, close enough. You can look it up. But Zane, he mentioned this book called Friendships Don't Just Happen by Shasta Nelson. And I'm actually still listening to it on audiobook, but I got so excited that I decided to do a little podcast episode about it to share the main teachings of the book. In basically, we're in a world already that we already know this, we've already established we're in a world where we often feel disconnected, overscheduled, or unsure how to build deeper relationships. This book offers a lot of comfort and clarity. Shasta reminds us that meaningful friendships are not accidental, they're intentional. They grow when we understand what actually creates closeness and when we are willing to invest in the process. So, in this episode, I'm going to walk you through the core lessons of the book, including the powerful model Shasta uses to explain how friendships form, grow, and sometimes drift. If you've ever wondered why some friendships feel easy while others stall, or how to deepen the connections you already have, this conversation is for you. So let's start with the beginning. Why do friendships feel so much harder in adulthood? Sometimes we assume that friendships just happen, and that's a myth. There's several other myths. For example, you'll just click with your people, or if it's meant to be, it will be effortless. And the truth is that friendship is a skill and a process. Loneliness isn't a personal failure, it's often a structural or effort imbalance issue. And actually, I was listening to the book earlier, and she said something about loneliness that I had never thought of that way. She said that loneliness is a signal in our bodies, like hunger, for example. When we're hungry, it's a signal that we need to eat. Or if we're thirsty, signal that we need to drink some water. So if we're lonely, it's a signal that we need to connect. We need to find ways to connect with other people. I never thought of loneliness that way. And now that she brought that up, I think I'm going to start looking at loneliness in a different way, which is actually quite monumental considering how much I think about these things. And so if friendship doesn't just happen, what does make it happen? So her core model, she says that there are 3 requirements for friendship. And her fundamental framework are consistency, vulnerability, and positivity. For consistency, that includes time and repeated interaction. Proximity, it matters, for example, physical proximity or emotional proximity. And regular exposure builds familiarity and safety. Without consistency, friendships are going to stall. And here's some reflection for us. Where in our lives could we increase consistency with people that we value? So I had a video on Instagram the other day where I talked about, sorry, I think my glasses are crooked. I talked about how it's so hard when we're all so busy and all of a sudden we realize that we haven't seen some of our friends in like 3 months. And because time is going by fast, we're busy, people are working, they have projects, they have travel and holidays and things like that. So one of the things I'm trying is to incorporate co-working more with some of my friends. And another thing I'm trying is to incorporate regular dinners, having people over for dinner. We'll see how that works. It's hard. We'll see how that works. And then, so her second framework is vulnerability, which means gradual sharing, emotional honesty, moving beyond logistics and surface updates, and vulnerability must be mutual and paced. So this is a balance, right? Like if you meet somebody and you're super vulnerable and then they're not vulnerable with you, then there's an imbalance. And then if you don't feel safe to be emotionally honest, then you're definitely not going to be vulnerable with them. And her point about moving beyond logistics and surface updates. So, for example, if my friend and I go out to coffee and all we talk about is how's everything going? Where are you going on your next trip? What are you painting your house? Or, topics like that, they're not vulnerable topics. So when we're together with friends, we need to remember that, first of all, the time is precious. Second of all, let's make a good use of our time together to share comfortably what we feel comfortable sharing. And here's an important nuance. Oversharing too quickly can feel unsafe, and vulnerability should build over time. Who in your life knows the real you right now? And I had to I had to sit with that one because I know a lot of people. I'm a social butterfly. I love meeting new people and making new friends. And sometimes I feel like my friends don't really know me. And I do have a few friends who know me and who I'm sharing with. But there's a lot of friends that I simply either haven't had the opportunity or I don't feel safe enough to share with yet. And that's something to think about. How can we create real connection and not just acquaintances? So the third part of her framework is positivity, warm affirmation and shared joy, feeling good around somebody, and having emotional generosity, and that person having emotional generosity with you. The importance of appreciation and encouragement. So that's something that it's beautiful, it's lovely, and I appreciate that in some of my friends who are very appreciative and encouraging of me, supportive, and I try to be the same. I joke that I'm being the cheerleader, but that's we're here to build each other up. That's kind of one of the part of the framework that Shasta Nelson is talking about in the book. Without positivity, relationships feel heavy or draining. Another thing she talks about is the friendship triangle model. And this is basically she's saying that these three elements that we just talked about, consistency, vulnerability, and positivity, if those three elements, they form a triangle. And if one side is weak, the relationship can't fully deepen. So strong friendships, they require balance between those three things. A friendship where there is consistency and positivity, but no vulnerability, that means it's a friendly relationship, but it's shallow. Vulnerability and positivity without consistency means it's intense, but it's unstable. And consistency and vulnerability without positivity means it's emotionally close, but it's heavy. So this model helps normalize why some friendships feel like they're stuck, they're not moving forward. And then she talks about the different types of friends. She categorizes friends by depth and function. So there's acquaintances that are friendly, light, and situational. There's casual friends, like people that share activities and some personal knowledge. And then there's close friends, emotional depth and consistent support. And intimate friends, deep mutual vulnerability and strong emotional investment. Not every friendship needs to be intimate and valuable. We need layers. It's okay to have some friends that are more in the acquaintance realm, more in the common interest realm, and some that are the consistent, and some that are intimate. And sometimes the friends can move from one layer to another. And it's totally okay to diversify your friendship portfolio. In a way, she talks about it, it's like you're safeguarding your social circle for the future, because people can move, have kids, something happens, they get a divorce or whatever, and they have life changes, and it's good to have a variety of friends so you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, and then if that person's life changes a lot, all of a sudden you don't have friends again. And so here's some practical lessons from this book. Don't wait to be invited. Initiate your friend, initiate contact, initiate plans. Schedule connection like you schedule work. And express appreciation regularly. Normalize naming the friendship. I value our friendship. Or saying, oh, you're a really good friend of mine, or I appreciate you as a friend. And stop expecting one person to meet all your relational needs. That's never going to happen. I've talked about this before, about how our partners can't meet all of our needs. So definitely not our friends either. Let's reflect for a bit. If you were thinking about those three sides of the triangle that Shasta described, consistency, vulnerability, and positivity, think about yourself in a friendship. Which side of the triangle do you naturally offer? And which side do you struggle with? And where are you expecting intimacy without investment? And who might be waiting for you to reach out? And so if I'm thinking about those questions, to be fully honest with you guys, I think I do okay with the consistency and the positivity, but I might not do as well with the vulnerability. And so that's something for me to think about as I'm continuing to try to deepen friendships. And am I expecting intimacy without an investment? Maybe. I never thought of that question before, because I invest a lot in my friendships, but now I gotta think about it. Like, are there people that maybe I should invest in more if I'm expecting more intimacy from them? And who might be waiting for me to reach out? I hope not a lot of people, because I'm always reaching out to people, but I gotta take a look at my contact list and see, like, I haven't reached out to this person in a while. So that's a good habit to keep too, is don't let your friends go uncontacted for a very long period of time. As I reflect on friendships don't just happen, what stands out the most is that connection is not about luck. It's about intention. Friendships isn't just reserved for the extroverted or the lucky or the socially gifted. It's something we build slowly, imperfectly, and courageously. If this episode resonated with you, I encourage you to take one small action this week. Send a text, schedule a coffee, express the appreciation, or open up just a little more. We don't need more followers. We need more consistency, more vulnerability, and more positivity. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this episode felt meaningful, share it with a friend and share it with gratitude. Tell them that you're grateful for them. Maybe that can be your small act of connection this week. Until next time, let's keep growing, keep trusting ourselves, and keep showing up authentically.